Hey guys, AJX22 here, and I'm doing a random neat gun video. This is something that I been throwing together alongside the Diesel Punk and just sort of doing as a when I have time for it project. It's an ar7, and the neat thing about it is this stock. I have no idea who made it. As near as I can tell, it's either a prototype for a production run that never was made, or I guess it could be a modification of an existing design that was like recast for something else. If you have any idea what this thing is, please tell me, because it's cool, and I consider myself a little bit of an ar7 nut. I mean, they're unreliable jam-o-matic junk for the most part, unless you really dial them in and get the mags just right. And I mean, compared to a 1022, especially now that they got takedowns, it's just, or a Browning Papoose, it's just not as interesting. But James Bond had one, and damn it, well, he had one in 25 ACP. So someday I'm going to rebarrel one in 25 ACP just to be right. I mean, the rounds will feed, but getting a 25 cal barrel blank and then reworking the bolt is a lot of work. Plus, then I'd have to run the stock and everything the way James Bond did. It's still worth doing someday for the movie gun section, but in the meantime, you know, when you're scrounging on Gunbroker for interesting things and you come across this, this is set up to take a plunger assembly, and this is eventually going to be swapped out for a shoulder bolt. It's just a pin right now that my buddy had at his shop while we were getting the parts on order. It actually holds pretty well and clicks open. That stupid little hinge or latch thing actually works. I'm kind of surprised by it, but it's going to be replaced by a plunger that's going to be a manual release and then a quick fold out, because it does have a hold closed position. You can tell right here, whereas on the other side it's a hole. It's fully retained. Yeah, I don't know what this was. It was there were underneath this rail, there's some castings on the side of this. This is retained by this the receiver cover pin and the stock bolt. Usually they give away on an ar7 stock. And then it has this little 22 tip-off rail on the side that's, I think, an aftermarket addition. Underneath this rail is like black paint. So I think this was originally black and sandblasted, and I think this is the old Lone Star grip that's actually been glued on, like carved out and then glued on. And it's got this weird slit for a trigger back here. So I just don't know what this is. It looks like it was some other stock that then had a foundry make an adapter to fit it to an ar7. It says patent pending cast into it. Has threaded holes here and here. It has an adjustment tension screw here. It has a threaded hole all the way through here that I don't know if that's a lock screw for tightening down on the stock screw or what, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. So just trying to figure it out. ar7 was black originally, but I stripped the anodizing off because it looked chintzy. And with this silver stock, you know, side by side with the Diesel Punk AR, I thought it was going to be kind of a cool one to hang on the wall next to it. Take out shooting, you know, if you've got kids or something and don't want them to necessarily play with the full-size AR yet. you know, AR7 with the folding stock that looks like the big one that's getting shot is not a bad one. Or, you know, small girlfriends or whatever. Plus this is, you know, an A2 stock length with an extra 1.25 inches added to the end of it, so it's pretty long pole for small people. This is not uncomfortable for full-size folk, but yeah, it's just kind of a neat setup. If you've ever seen anything that even resembles this, please send me a link, show me what it is, tell me about it. This sort of, the Lone Star grip sort of puts it at the 80s or the 90s, probably, early. Yeah, very, very interesting design. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know what that pocket is for under the receiver. There's a lot of things that make me think it was adapted for something different, from something different or for something different, and wasn't fully done. Like this was a tool room prototype for something. They didn't finish the latch mechanism. They had this thing, probably to check length of pull, etc. They didn't have this thing filled in yet. They didn't have this thing filled in. I have no idea what these screw holes would hold to it. Maybe a magazine clip or something to clip in an extra magazine. Not to call a magazine a clip. Yeah, it's just so different. Oh, that's an idea. This might actually be the right size for a 1911 grip panel, and that might be a grip panel bushing to go over it. That would make sense. Just looking at the angle there, that might work. That might have been the original idea. In fact, there may be one of these underneath that, which would make this even more epic, because then I could put wood furniture on it. I'm going to go get some 1911 grip screws and see about that. Maybe even try to... Well, that's JB Weld. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that off without destroying it. So, yeah, let me know what you think. I'm leaning towards destroying it myself and just tracking down another one, but at the same time, I hate to destroy like prototype stuff as far as cutting the plastic grip off and seeing what that hole is. Maybe try that one with a 1911 bushing first, and then come back to it. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Very cool. Alright guys, I'm gonna go get back to working on stuff. Just thought you might get a kick out of this one. I certainly did. If it turns out nobody's ever seen it before and there actually wasn't a patent pending on it, I am sorely tempted to take this thing to a foundry and have some of these whipped up. Because this is by far the coolest stock for the AR7 that I've ever seen, and I'd like to think that I'm, you know, versed on all the stocks that have ever been commercially produced, and quite a few that were one-offs in people's basements. You know, I've got the Mitchell, I have a lot of AR7s, put it that way. I was into them back in the day. Before I turned 21, it was the closest thing to a pistol that the gun store would sell me, was an AR7 that I could put a pistol grip stock on. So, yeah, before I turned 21, a while ago. Anyway, have a good one.